Good morning, Transpac race fans. I'm Dobbs Davis with Seahorse Magazine, here to give you the 12 July race analysis for this 2013 2,225-mile race from LA to Honolulu. This Transpac is turning out to be an interesting one. We start off here this morning with our Yellow Bic tracker. Here we are looking at the big picture. You can see where the Division 7 and 8 boats who started a few days ago on Monday are already a third of the way through the course and legging out nicely. When we zoom in a little bit, you'll see where our starters from yesterday are still trying to get off the coast. So let's drill into this with a little more detail if we can. First of all, let's look at how these boats fared last night. As you can see by the tracks, that was a tough night out there. Those maybe following along in the various media outlets or on the website will have seen the story from yesterday afternoon. These boats started off in rain and overcast skies, southerly winds, actually southeasterly winds, so completely different than the normal conditions. They were actually coming off the starting line here at Point Furman with code zeros and spinnakers. They actually got lifted quite a bit, and in some cases were jibing downwind to get out around the west end. Well, that all changed, as you can see, in the middle of the night. Don't quite know, but my guess is it probably lifted, kept lifting around, they jibed, and then now the wind reports from early this morning indicate that the wind has come around to the southwest, so it's kind of clocked around quite a bit, so they're probably back on headsails. The tracks are straightening out quite a bit, but you can see that these weird patterns are very different than Monday starters who just shot straight out on a northwest breeze, out on a straight line reach down the track. These guys were having to sag quite north, and as you can see here, are actually getting out around San Nicolas Island. So unusual circumstances indeed for Divisions 4, 5, and 6 who started yesterday. Let's look at a little more detail here as we get in closer and see who's doing well and where they are. So off here in the south, I'll try to position that a little better. There we go. So this Australian team sailing a 50-foot boat that looks like an open 50. I'm not quite sure what boat type that is, but they certainly resemble an open-style boat that you often see racing around the planet. This Australian team is the farthest south amongst this group, and they're moving along pretty nicely now. 8.5 knots, 224 degrees as they're heading, so their breeze is supporting a pretty good track there. Those that got pulled further north have to be probably a little bit worried. I mean, it's not the best to be up here where, as we see Criminal Mischief, their strategy looked a little different. They sagged quite far north up toward the rum line. It's a pretty unusual circumstance when you go off on the Transpac and go north of San Nicolas Island, but Criminal Mischief is leading the group that is doing that. At 5.5 knots at 264, they certainly look a little less in a little less better shape than these guys down here. Prevail, Santa Cruz 52. They were the top-scoring 52 in the 2011 race. They're also trucking along at 8.6 knots. So certainly it looks like being down in the south is a little bit better than these guys up in the north. Resolute, J125, they're not doing too badly at 6.9 knots. And Medusa, another Santa Cruz 52, 7.3. These boats here are probably probably bearing off not to hit the island, so they're probably cracked off and reaching. 7.5 knots isn't bad, of course, for Deception, the Santa Cruz 50, and Lucky Ducky, a Santa Cruz 52, 7.8 knots, and Brett Walda 3, which is a Rogers 46, is going 8.4. So again, it looks like this group more to the south of the rum line track in divisions 4, 5, and 6 have a little bit better breeze than those that are stuck up here to the north, but they do have this island to get around, so that's going to be their big challenge for the day. Now, if we look, actually, speaking about the day and the forecast, if we look at this big picture synopsis of what's happening with the North Pacific High. This is a prognosis for Sunday, July 14th, or actually probably late Saturday night, late tomorrow night. We can see the progression of the high. Now, and I'll point out, here's Hawaii here, and the start in Southern California here. So this is basically our Transpac course where I'm drawing the cursor. What's important to look at is probably less the actual barometric pressures and the isobars here, but their orientation and how they change relative to the position of the high. So the following day, when we refresh this and go to what on this is called day 4. Now this is a plot that's found on Lee Chesnow's weather site. There's a link off the Transpac website for this. It's quite a lot of useful information there. And for some reason this isn't refreshing very quickly, but it does go through a progression of these different prognoses, and we can see that the high will actually start moving a little bit to the southwest, and the overall barometric changes over the Transpac course do not change significantly. There's a slight compression in the isobars that we'll see as you scroll forward, but basically it's looking like it's not going to be very windy, but it's also not going to be super light. In other words, we're not going to see the isobars spread out to what you see down here further to the south of the track. There should be a pretty good breeze, 10 to 15 knots over most of the race for the next few days. That is another forecast here of looking at this scenario. This is a Transpac track is down here. There's Hawaii. I'll try to center this up on the screen. There we go. So Hawaii and Southern California Transpac course is down here. This is a 48-hour surface forecast. So this is projected to be valid at that same time as the last graph we saw. And the 1016 isobar is what is prominent here. As you can see, overall shift in the wind direction. So going from northerlies, northwesterlies to northeasterlies and gradually easterlies. That's the classic Transpac course. So we'll go back to the tracker and look now at how the classes that started on Monday, Division 7 and 8, how they're doing. You can see that their tracks are very nice and straight because they've had fairly steady conditions over the course of the race thus far. What you can see in the last 24 hours, and I'll go scroll this back, but you can see that their tracks have started to sag a little bit from the west to the north, or rather from the southwest to the west. So they're converging more on rumline. The reason for this, of course, is that they're getting lifted. The breeze now going from more northerly direction to more northeast, 030, 13 knots. So they can't sail dead downwind. They are now having to come up to sail at their sailing angles, downwind VMGs. I think what's interesting to see here, if we zoom in, is how some of these boats are getting very much involved in tactical, no doubt in tactical scenarios. Look at these two here. There's Hiroshi Katada's X41 Kyo. They are definitely within sight of another Japanese boat, a Beneteau First 40, Yushi Takahashi's boat, 10 quarter. So these guys having a great race here, just a couple of miles separation. No doubt they're pushing each other quite hard, which is why the crown is over Kyo. That just shows that they're leading right now in their division. So often what happens when boats get close is the teams wake up, they push each other harder, and they just perform better. So we'll see more of that, of course, in this group leaving the coast now, but we're certainly seeing that here in this group. So I'll keep this analysis a little shorter today than yesterday, now that everybody knows how to work these trackers. For tomorrow, we'll come back in, give another synopsis of what happened overnight for the boats on the course, and give a little bit of a preview for what's going to happen with our final starters. The third start classes are going off tomorrow afternoon here from Point Fermin, and they will have probably much the same weather, but we'll see that on tomorrow's analysis. So For Seahorse Magazine and the Transpac Yacht Club, I'm Dobbs Davis, and we'll see you tomorrow.